In this lesson, we'll do some sculpting on our penny. All right, so we want to create kind of a coin for this guy to hold. So let's turn off everything except that geometry, that base geometry that we brought in. So I'm going to turn off the visibility on the eyes, the tag, and the couch back, and the cushions. So we'll be left with just our little penny here. All right, we also got the teeth. Let's turn those off as well. All right, so first thing that I'll do on this penny is subdivide it a few times so that we want to get some high resolution sculpted detail in here. All right, the next thing that I'll do is let's go ahead and go to layers, sculpt layers, and let's add a new sculpt layer. And we can go ahead and now sculpt detail, and it'll all be contained on this particular layer. So let's go to our image browser, and I want to choose this penny heads, and let's go ahead and you can see I can't really see anything because I've had the stops up. Let's go back down to 1 here, and you can see that detail coming in. There we go. And so let's send this over as a stencil. Go back to our 3D view, and we'll get this into position. So if you want to go just strictly to the top view, you can do that too. I'll use S to position this. So I'll position it so there's a little bit of a rim around it. All right, let's go to sculpt. We're on the sculpt layer. And so we can come in, and you can see how that's really kind of blowing that out a little bit. And so I'm going to turn off my stamp. I'm going to turn down the strength. Okay, now you can see that as I sculpt this out, everywhere I sculpt is a little bit different because of the pressure that I'm using. I can't get it exact. And so one of the things that we can do is to use flood. So let me take the strength of this down a little bit more, and let's just flood the layer. So hit flood. That's going to use the same pressure all the way across the surface. And so now if we were to come in and look at this, and let me just turn off the stamp, you can see how this is all blown out, and there's just a ton of detail here. And we can take the strength of our layer down until we get something that looks a little bit closer to what we want. Okay, so we've got the option to go all the way, or we can now dial this down. I can turn off the visibility of the layer itself as well. And so we can come in here into this layer, kind of get it looking the way that we want. We can also come in and start to add detail on this. So if we wanted to kind of pull up parts of this coin so it's not just perfectly straight, we can kind of raise the relief up a little bit more off of the surface. Kind of do the same thing over here. Maybe we like the bumpiness, but we don't like it on the areas that should be worn, and so we can come in here and start to smooth out different areas. So for instance, up here on the, oops, let me go back here. Up here, we can kind of smooth that out a little bit. And then you can do any sort of sculpting. It's all contained on this particular sculpt layer. Okay, so I can kind of smooth out those bumps a little bit where this has been rubbed away. Okay, now you can see where that detail has been transferred over to the bottom side as well. Well, we can come in, since it's on a layer, we can either mask it out or erase it. So I can come up to erase, and on the bottom, I can come in here and start to erase this. Okay, I just want to be careful that I'm not erasing anything on the other side. But I can come in and kind of erase it all the way up to that line there. And that will give us an opportunity to add the other side of the penny. Now, I think only this side's probably going to be seen, but probably want to go ahead and add the other side as well. So we can kind of erase this out of that layer. Let me pause the video as I just do the same thing. I'm just going to come across here and kind of erase this detail out. Now that we've got that erased, we could add the other side. So we can add a new sculpt layer. We could come in and freeze the areas that we don't want to be affected. Okay, so in this case we would invert this. So we could come in and add this freeze here and kind of just complete this all the way around. All right, now let's invert our freeze. So we'll invert that to freeze everything but that side. And then on this new sculpt layer, we can come in and bring in a different image. So we could bring in our tails. There it is. We'll go ahead and send that over as a stencil. Go back to sculpt, place the stencil in position. So that's the top. So we'll go ahead and kind of make that the top here. Kind of bring this, put it in position. And now, again, let's go ahead and flood this into the layer. Let's turn off our stencil. And you can see it's really overblown, so we'll take this back down quite a ways to maybe the same amount, 10 here, 10 or 11, maybe a little bit less. Okay, and then we can unfreeze everything. And now we have that detail on both sides sculpted in. So I can turn off the bottom sculpt layer, I can turn off the top sculpt layer, and all of that is in there. So now we can dial the strength in of these, and then once we're ready, we can bake this all the way down. And so you can see if I right click on this, I can flatten it. You can also merge visible. So we could merge this into one sculpt layer. So we'd still have the base, but we wouldn't have the two sides separated. Or we can bake it all the way down and flatten it. So now there's no layers, everything is sculpted into the surface. All right, so that's a quick look at creating our penny using sculpt layers and sculpting, flooding with detail. So just keep that in mind. When you flood, you're kind of using that strength and creating the same height all the way across the surface, which in some cases is an advantage to you. All right, so the next thing that we'll do is start to come in and add some materials and change some material settings. So let's go ahead and tackle that in the next lesson.